Hello, I'm David Mandy, President of O&M Partners. I want to welcome everyone today to the town hall call for U.S. Gold Corp. U.S. Gold Corp trades on the NASDAQ under the symbol USAU. For those of you that are new to these broadcasts, they're brought to you today by O&M Partners based in New York. We're a marketing communications company. We are not a broker dealer. We're not commissioned. We're simply in the business of bringing managements of public companies and investors together real time. The information today presented is public, already available public. We're hoping to providing you context, bringing this information to your attention, that you'll come away with a better informed investment decision. We want to answer everyone's questions during the webinar. So please go to the GoToWebinar or just email us, the question pane on GoToWebinar, or just email us, and we'll get back to you. Be assured your questions will be answered. If not during the call, we'll get back to you at a reasonable amount of time after the call. Excuse me. Now we're going to turn to our host today. Very pleased to have Ed Carr with us. Ed is the President, the Chief Executive Officer, and the Director of U.S. Gold. Ed's is an international entrepreneur. He's worked for Prudential Securities in the United States. He's been in the financial services industry for over 25 years. He's an international entrepreneur and founder of several investment management and investment banking firms in Geneva, Switzerland. He's also been very active in the natural resource industry for years. He's served as a board member on numerous mining public companies. He was a founder and served on the board of director of Pershing Gold until its merger with Americas Silver Corp. He was also director and chair of the audit committee of Levon Resources until it was merged with Discovery Metals. Ed's been a past contributor to CNBC. He's been quoted in numerous financial publications, and it's a real pleasure to have him with us today. Ed, I'm going to turn the call over to you.
Thank you, David. Thank you for that warm introduction. Really appreciate it. So thank you, everyone, for joining the call. And David, thank you to you and the whole O&M team for setting this up. We really appreciate everyone's attention and taking some time out of your day to hear the U.S. Gold Corp story. So as David mentioned, my name's Ed Carr, President, CEO, founder of U.S. Gold Corp. I'll be running everyone through our presentation here that I have up on my screen. Hopefully I did this correctly. All of you have it on your screen as well. This presentation, I point out, is on our website. So our April 2020 presentation, you can see it on our website. Pretty much all the documents I'll refer to are on our website as well, www.usgoldcorp.gold, so you can go there for more information. And I thought before I began, maybe I'd just give a very quick perspective of the gold market, the gold price, the gold market, and my idea, I think what's going to happen. I think everyone knows that the price of bullion gold's been on a real tear. Where we're doing quite well. Last I looked today, we're up to about $1,740 an ounce. Of course, gold, like everything else, got hit very, very aggressively in early March, pretty much due to the massive sell-off from the COVID-19 pandemic and just a flight to liquidity. A lot of margin calls, a lot of disruptions in the global financial markets. A lot of fund managers had to raise cash. So everything gets sold. They throw the baby out with the bathwater. Gold got knocked down below 1,500, but look, we've really rebounded back very, very sharply and very strongly. And I think one of the major reasons for that is all of this fiscal and monetary stimulus we've seen come into the financial markets around the world. In the United States, we've seen over a $2 trillion fiscal package, stimulus package passed by Congress, try and get some checks out into the hands of people that are all staying at home to shelter at home and social distance. So we try and flatten the curve here on COVID-19. I'm sure a lot of you are home. I'm home right now. So we're really trying to do our best part, and it's very, very needed to control this. But that stimulus has gone out for businesses, individuals. And then the Federal Reserve really came in with the big guns. They announced $2.3 trillion of monetary stimulus. Not only are they buying treasuries, they're buying corporates, they're buying munis, probably buying ETFs and stocks and everything out there. So, we're probably over $5 trillion of combined fiscal monetary stimulus already. And we're seeing the bullion price, really start to take off. And at the same time, I think we're seeing a very unique situation in that a lot of mines are closed due to COVID-19 concerns. Mines get closed, production gets shut down. Not only mines, refineries are shut down. Our refineries in Switzerland, I tell you, are shut down. So no gold is getting refined. A lot of volatility, a lot of nervousness. So the demand for physical is pretty high. So we're seeing the price really start to firm up. And I personally believe that there's going to be more both fiscal monetary stimulus all around the world, not just the United States. This is a global phenomenon. We'll see it in Europe. We'll see it out of China, out of Japan, et cetera. So I think watch out. The price of bullion could really, in my opinion, go to a new all-time high by the end of this year. And I think it could take this whole mining sector with it. So with that, we'll get into the presentation. I'm going to go quite quickly through this presentation. I'm certainly not going to read every page. I want to save a lot of time at the end for questions and answers. So, we're a U.S. focused gold exploration development companies. We've got great projects in the company. As David Mandy mentioned, we are traded on the NASDAQ, symbol USAU, US Gold. During the presentation here, I will be making some forward-looking statements. I'll draw your attention to this slide. And I'd kind of point out that the entire world right now is a forward-looking statement. None of us know what's going to happen next week, next month, never mind next year. So keep that in mind for everything I say throughout the presentation here. If we look at the summary of US Gold Corp and what we have in our company today, we have 3 great projects in US Gold Corp. And we founded this company off the project on the left-hand side of your screen here called Copper King. Copper King's a great asset. It's a exploration and development project located in Wyoming. Wyoming's a very natural resource friendly state. A lot of coal mines, a lot of uranium mines, oil and gas. So real good place to be bringing a new deposit potentially into production. What initially attracted us to Copper King? We know we have this very viable resource out there. We have about 1.1 million ounces of gold, MII, and 300 million pounds MII copper. So Mine Development Associates has done a preliminary economic assessment. They used 1275 gold, 280 copper when they did that. And it showed $178 million NPV at a 5% discount rate on the project. So very viable. It's still open. It's on all state of Wyoming grounds. So really nice foundation asset in US Gold Corp. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, we have 2 Nevada exploration projects. So these are on 2 of the most famous gold trends in Nevada. Keystone, located on the well-known Cortez Trend, just south of Barrick Gold's Cortez Hills complex. And then we picked up another project last year called Maggie Creek, and that's on the world-famous Carlin Trend. So we look at the overview of the company, valuation. We're proud of the fact that we're traded on the NASDAQ stock market. We are one of the very few junior exploration companies out on the NASDAQ. We have an extremely tight share structure. So today we have about 2.9 million shares of common in the company. We have no debt, very important. We did at the end of March do a raise. We raised $2 million. So just to shore up our balance sheet in these uncertain times. Something I'd point out as well is that management and insiders have pretty significant shareholdings, and a couple key shareholders. We own about 30% of the company. So have a lot of our own money and significant stakes. We do have one analyst that covers us. That's Heiko Ile over at H.C. Wainwright. He has a $29 price target on us, so significant upside. I think the last time I looked, our share price was somewhere hovering around the $5 range. So we're only about a $14 million market cap today. Personally, I think we're pretty cheap, but the whole market's been pretty cheap. So let's start looking at the projects and what we're excited about. We're going to start in Wyoming with Copper King. Copper King's a really solid project. And I believe this is the stake of US Gold Corp. You can hang your hat on our Copper King valuation and where our company is today. We get this development stage, gold, copper, silver, zinc project. in the state of Wyoming. Great state to be doing business in. I'll show you where we're located. We're in the southeast portion of the state, about 20 miles outside of Cheyenne, so very accessible. You could fly into Denver International Airport, rent a car, and I imagine today there's not a lot of traffic, so you could probably drive pretty quickly, get up here in about 2 hours, and drive right on top of the deposit. So really good, good location. You can see in this slide the yellow outline of the Copper King deposit. We have 2 state of Wyoming leases, and we believe that the deposit is open. You see here, looking at the resource estimate, Copper King is about 1,000 feet long, 300 feet wide by about 300 feet deep, comes right up to surface. And the deposit, you can see the grades here. It is a lower grade deposit without a doubt. However, it's very conducive to mining because there's real consistency of grade, consistency of mineralization throughout that deposit. So it has a higher grade center surrounded by a more lower grade resource. About 1.1 million ounces MII gold, 300 million pounds MII copper that I talked about. We look at some of the highlights of the PEA. The full PEA is available on our website. So if you want to really dive deep into the technicals of Copper King, I invite you to go look at that document. And when we did the PEA with MDA, they used $1,275 gold, 280 copper. At those prices, it shows $300 million approximately of net cash flow, $178 million NPV, very attractive 33% IRR, manageable CapEx with just 113 million. Copper King, it's envisioned, will be a flotation facility. It'll be a gold copper concentrate. And if you look down the bottom right of this slide, it's envisioned this project's going to create over 100 jobs directly at the mine, and maybe even up to 1,000 jobs in the local Cheyenne community. So this will be a nice economic incentive for Cheyenne. We recently updated the Copper King internal economics. It's a lot of sensitivity tables, as you can imagine, in that PEA. So we wanted to see how do the economics look at $1,600 gold. We kept copper at 280 for the assumption. And at $1,600 gold, Copper King is projected to throw off pre-tax cash flow of 510 million. That NPV jumps up to 321 million. IRR increases to 52%. So it really starts to get attractive. And I think our shareholders can see that leverage, that for every $100 increase in the price of gold, Copper King really gives our shareholders some good leverage. We've done some exploration out here at Copper King. We believe this deposit can increase. Some geophysical surveys in 2017. We drilled in 2018. We drilled 8 holes. 5 of them hit additional mineralization. You can see on this slide the outline of the yellow. So we expanded the deposit out to the west. That has not been included in any updated geological reports or economics. Interestingly, we also hit some silver that I'll talk a little more about. And when we did that drilling, we then hired Datamine out of Denver, Colorado to do a new exploration model for us. That was quite intriguing. Here you can see a gold iso shell with this higher grade sort of core shown in pink, surrounded by this more lower grade deposit. And you look on this page, you see some of the different iso shells, gold and copper. Those were the economics of the PEA. You look down below, we clearly see zinc and, importantly for us as well, silver. So we're trying right now, we're going to move Copper King forward to a pre-feasibility study level. We're working with some of the top consultants out there on a PFS. And we really want to, number one, see if we can get some credit for the expansion of the resource. Number two, take a pretty close look at the silver, see if we can get some silver credits in the PFS, ultimately probably increase our net present value. And if you look finally on Copper King and this gold iso shell, you can see some of the prior drilling to the southeast has stopped in some of the higher grades. So we're excited about that. We also would like to do some additional exploration drilling, potentially increase the deposit overall. So watch our future press releases on Copper King. We're quite excited about this. Most of these development stage companies with an asset like Copper King at the PEA level, they trade around 20% of their net present value. you know, our market cap today at $14 million, we're about 5% of our net present value. So I think we're personally quite undervalued with this, this quality asset that we have. We did a lot of work out here from community relations last year in 2019. One of our directors, Secretary Ryan Zinke, he's the former Secretary of the Interior under the Trump administration. Secretary Zinke and I were out in Wyoming. We had a meeting with the governor, Governor Mark Gordon, talking to him about permitting, met with the state regulators, the county commissioners, Board of Public Utilities, et cetera. So really doing our part from a community standpoint in relations to move this thing forward to the pre-feasibility. Ultimately, we want to get this to feasibility, full bankable feasibility, raise that money and potentially put it into production. So that's Copper King. Let's now switch into Nevada. We'll talk about our Nevada exploration projects. I'll go pretty quickly through these. Again, a lot of information on the website. Nevada, we're in a great location. You know, north central Nevada is elephant country. There are some of the biggest mines in North America located here, and we are on two of the biggest gold trends out there. So very happy with our land position. We're going to start with Keystone. Zoom in here now to the Cortez trend. You see this image. This is a slide of the Cortez trend. You can clearly see our Keystone project area. Just north of us, this is Barrick Gold country. You got the Cortez Hills mine across the valley. If you've been out there, Pipeline, you know, these are big deposits, extremely profitable, high-grade mines for Barrick Gold. This is where all the action's taken place with the joint venture with Barrick and Newmont, Nevada Gold Mines. You see Gold Rush, new deposit going into production. They even have new discoveries. ET Blue, a new one called 4 Mile, that's not even on this map. So we're in a good neighborhood. And you know, our property position and package looks very prospective to us. I've always been told if you want to find a new gold deposit or gold mine, good place to look is around other gold mines and deposits. So you can see from this slide that we think we're in a pretty good neighborhood. Keystone, the property package, it's pretty good size. We're about 12,000 acres here. So this is 6.5 miles long by 3.5 miles wide. The analogy is about the size of Manhattan Island in New York. You know, good property package, and it's the first time now that one company has controlled this entire district. We've been doing a lot of work out here the last couple of years. Real target areas are starting to emerge for us now, and it's looking extremely prospective for us. A lot of that work, we start out with a raw property package. First thing we do is mapping. We hired a gentleman named Tom Chapin, worked for Barrick Gold for many years. He mapped the entire district. We sponsored a master's thesis student to go out and scientifically age date the intrusives on our project. We now know the exact age of those, and these are the drivers of the system. We've done a lot of geophysics, gravity surveys, we've done soil samples, and then of course, a lot of drilling. So it's really looking good. You see how we started out down here on this slide, just consolidating the claims in the district. The lower right corner here shows a geophysical gravity survey with an interpretation. See this big northwesting trending structure going right through the project. That's exciting because a lot of these big Carlin type deposits, they tend to form on the edge of these structural breaks. And so it looks good to us. We've done a lot of drilling out on the project, started out with a couple of NOIs, 2017. We did a bunch of scout hole drilling, kind of north, south, east, west. Let's go out, let's look. These big world-class Carlin type deposits are hosted in very specific host rocks, limestone carbonates. So we wanted to make sure we had these host rocks on the project, and indeed we do. You can see on this slide a representation of our stratigraphy at Keystone. Looks very promising to us. Every single one of our drill holes so far has encountered anomalous gold. So we know that there is a big gold system at work. And really our challenge is to drill into one of these high grade feeder zones. That could be a world-class discovery and would be very exciting. So you see our stratigraphy here on the right compared to the Cortez Hills deposit on the left. They look quite similar. Not only have we had anomalous gold in every drill hole, we've seen great brecciation, alteration, all of the right pathfinders that you want to see. So Keystone's very prospective. In 2018, we continued drilling. We put out a lot of press releases on our exploration programs. At the end of 2018, we were quite pleased because the BLM awarded us our POO, Plan of Operations. That gave us really unlimited disturbance up to 200 acres, so we could go anywhere in the district. Followed that up in 2019 with more exploration and more drilling. Our project geologist, Ken Coleman, has been out there 2019 designing the drill program and leading the drillers as they're out there. We had an exciting hole for us last year in 2019. That was Keystone 1905, drilled in a target area called Nina Skarn. So new target areas are emerging for us. And 1905 was a great hole. In that one drill hole, we had more gold than all the other drill holes to date at Keystone. And so far, I mean, that 1905, don't get me wrong, it is not a discovery hole. We did not drill in by any means to a world-class deposit, but this is showing us we might be able to vector into something significant. We might be in the halo and be pretty close. So our stratigraphy from 2019 looked very, very encouraging. Real target areas like Sophia, Tip Top, and certainly Nina Skarn are starting to become much more interesting for us. These are going to be the focus of our 2020 exploration programs. Keystone, I'll point out, it is at altitude in Nevada, so we can get snowed up in the mountains at about 7,500 feet. And you can't work out there in the winter. Even the spring can be quite wet, quite muddy. So the earliest we can get a drill rig out here is usually June sort of time frame. And we'll just have to see how the situation develops with the COVID-19 pandemic. Safety and security is paramount for all of our employees and contractors. So we want to make sure that everything is safe and we have the proper authorizations to get out there. Currently, right now, during the winter and into the spring, we look at all that 2019 data. We go back, we reassess in the context with prior drilling, with geophysics, geochemistry, try and really understand what's going on and design our 2020 drill programs. We're doing that right now. We will be issuing press releases in the near future talking about our Keystone 2020 exploration programs, so please watch out for those. So that's Keystone. We're going to switch now to Maggie Creek. Maggie Creek is located on a parallel gold trend called the Carlin trend, quite famous gold trend. We're in a really good position there. I'm just going to talk very, very briefly on Maggie Creek. We did put out a press release on it in the past, and we even have a presentation on our website specifically about Maggie Creek. So if you want more information, I invite you to go look at that. We have an option on Maggie Creek to earn up to a 70% interest. We've got that from Renaissance Gold, and we think it's very, very prospective. We're doing a bunch of work on it right now, and we'll be issuing some more press releases on Maggie Creek talking about our 2020 planned exploration programs. Those are being designed literally as we speak, so continue to watch for that as well. This slide, we talk a little bit. We're inexpensive, says 13 million. I think we're probably $14 million market cap. I'll let everyone go do their own comparisons. I think a lot of the junior exploration space is still inexpensive. The big majors have been taking off. We see new highs recently, or 52-week highs for Newmont, for Barrick, which is to be expected. Price of gold is doing quite well. Energy prices have come way down, a big cost input for the mining industry. So mining companies are making a lot of money, a lot of cash flow. I think that the juniors, first the mid-tiers will start moving, and then ultimately the juniors will move. And I think we're really setting up for what could be perhaps one of the biggest bull markets of our lifetime. So could be exciting. We've got a great team at US Gold Corp. We're pretty lean and mean, as most junior exploration and development companies are. Got a quite active board that helps me out a lot. I rely on them. I talked about Secretary Zinke. Tim Jenke's a mining engineer. He was the COO of Persian Gold. He was also on the board of Strathmore Minerals when they had Copper King. So Tim knows the deposit very well. We added a new director September last year. His name is Douglas Newby. Douglas is the former CFO of Polymet Mining. He knows the mining industry and permitting process very well. Douglas is also our new chair of the audit committee. Lean and mean, like I say, management team, good technical advisory team. So we think we really have the people in place to come with some big discoveries and create some value. So in a conclusion, just the opportunity, we believe we've got this great portfolio, almost a barbell approach, if you will. Copper King, you can hang your hat on that PEA, the NPV. We know the gold is out there, real value there at Copper King in the ground, and we're going to advance that to the pre-feasibility and ultimately feasibility study and get it into production. And then you've got the blue sky of Keystone and Maggie Creek. So real good value. We've got a very tight share structure, traded on NASDAQ. As I mentioned, cash in the bank, no debt in the company. So we're excited about the opportunity. I encourage everyone to go to our website, sign up for our news releases. It's www.usgoldcorp.gold. Plenty of information, technical reports on the projects. I'm available myself anytime. All of us are, at least a lot of us are at home. So I'm quite available. You want to email me, call me anytime. Love to talk to investors, shareholders, and really appreciate your time and attention. And I'll turn it over to you, David, the O&M team, and very happy to open it up to any questions.
Thank you, Ed. Nice presentation. We're going to start today with Chesley Morton. Chesley, do you have questions for Ed today?
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, I got to say that's a great presentation and an exciting portfolio. With regard to all those juniors, you had a previous slide that showed a bunch of people drilling in this area, and there probably are dozens of juniors. Which ones are going to be on the radar for the major companies to acquire? Is it going to be those who would be accretive or add ounces or both?
My opinion, great question. And my opinion is really, the majors are in a pretty good position right now, because after the last bull market cycle, when they did a lot of acquisitions and expanded their balance sheets, took on too much debt, they've restructured, they got rid of a lot of debt, they've got a lot of cash. I think the majors are really in a wait and see standpoint. And if you get a junior that is successful in coming with a world-class discovery, that's when the major is going to swoop in and potentially take them over. It's very similar analogy to like the big pharma and junior biotech industry right now. The big majors don't even really have to go out and do exploration. They do a little, but they can let all these hundreds, even thousands of junior exploration companies do it. And when one junior actually gets the big drill hole and delivers the goods, that's when I believe the big majors will come in and take them over. So I'd say just continue to watch and let's see who can deliver the results.
That's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Chesley, for your question. We're going to turn now to Doug Loud. Doug, question today?
Yes, now that I have the mic set up. A couple of quick questions. You're doing lots of drilling. Are all the permits okay? And then I have two more little questions.
Yes, permits are fine. As I mentioned at Keystone, we have our plan of operations, so it's 10 years. We're in good shape there. Everything, claim fees on all projects are in good shape, and we're good on the permits.
Glad to hear about the claim fees. You have enough money to do all this?
Look, I'll be honest, Doug, junior exploration company, you can never have too much money. So
that's for sure.
Our exploration programs, like every junior out there, are directly dependent to how much cash we have in the bank. And I'm not a geologist, Doug, but all the geologists that I've worked with and have worked for me, they love to drill. So, yes, they'll drill as much money as we can give them. And we'll see. We have some programs based on our limited resources right now. And if, the market really starts taking off, we would certainly look to raise more money, hopefully at higher prices in the future, to fund even more aggressive exploration programs.
On a slightly more ominous note, you commented before that the refineries and the smelters are shut down as not being essential. So I have this image of an awful lot of gold companies who sent their concentrate off to be processed, who aren't going to get paid because it won't get processed, and a lot of little guys are going to be in trouble. Have you got a chance for some doré so you don't have to worry about it?
Yeah, you know, that's not a problem specifically for us because we're not producing anything.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
none of our projects are in production. You know, we would love to have that sort of high quality problem if we can get Copper King into production in the next couple of years, and we'll see what happens. I do believe this halt with the refineries, you know, is temporary. They will get back up and running, and there are refineries running around the world. It's just certain ones in certain geographic locations that are currently shut down.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Very interesting.
Thanks, Doug, as always, for your questions. Please now turn to Jim Vale. Jim, question today?
Yes, I do. But first, Ed, I've got to congratulate you on the way you put US Gold together. It was a business school textbook example of buying data RAM and then changing the name. And I mean, it was just fantastic to watch. But enough said about that. Of the projects you have just, if you had to do triage, where would you start? Keystone.
Hopefully not New York City Hospital. Yeah, no, look, I think really it depends, always a function of money, function of budgets, everything else. You know, moving Copper King right now to the pre-feasibility study, that's not going to cost us too much money. And I really believe it's going to create a tremendous amount of value for our shareholders. Okay. We'll really tighten up the mine plan, the metallurgy, you know, the baseline studies, environmental, hydrology, permitting. We'll use current commodity cost input prices. Hopefully we get some credit for that additional drilling in silver. I think that NPV is going to be exciting. I really do. So, you know, and then if the market can give us a little recognition for what a great asset we have there, I think that's going to create a lot of value. Also as well, if we can get that big discovery hole at Keystone, you know, wow, look out. That could be a big value creator. So all of our projects, you know, have a lot of potential.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for your question. Jim, as always, we're going to turn to Martin DeBovis. Martin? Martin, can you hear us? Martin, are you there?
Can you hear me?
You can, Martin, indeed.
Oh, great. Yeah. Sorry, the microphone was off. Yeah, I mean, basically, is the infrastructure there in your regions in place for you to start doing this drilling, or is that going to be another expense to do the startup process?
Yeah, on the drilling, we use drill contractors, so we outsource on all the projects. We've already spoken with our drill contractors. We use the same guys year in, year out, and we've got a great relationship with them. Really like that, you know, that close relationship, and they've done a wonderful job, both of our drilling contractors for us. So they've got rigs available. Literally, we're ready to go. I think timing wise, at Copper King, Keystone, Maggie Creek, the soonest we can really get out there will be June. But just from a weather standpoint, and then we have to look at the whole COVID-19 lockdown, social distancing. Can we get out onto the projects? And that's just a day-by-day thing that the whole industry has to wait and see. But I'm optimistic. You know, I think we will be able to get there by early June.
Well, it's really impressive. You had a good time in the gold cycle. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for being on the call, Martin. We'll turn to Steve Rentschler. Steve, great to have you on the call today.
Super, thanks. So I was curious, was Maggie Creek, I guess you made an acquisition, was it last year, of a company of which Maggie Creek was included? Was that the main reason that you made that acquisition?
That's exactly it. Yeah, we took over a private Canadian company that held a little complicated Nevada subsidiary called Orovetta Metals that held the option on Maggie Creek. And we really think this is quite a prospective property. So we were, you know, very happy to do that acquisition. We did it all stock, so a little dilutive to the US Gold Corp shareholders, but we brought on this great exploration project with, I think, big upside, and we gained some new well-known mining industry executives on our shareholder registry that have been very instrumental in helping us. So it was a great acquisition overall.
What's the size of the work commitment for you to earn in?
It's up to $7 million to earn the 70% interest over the course of several years.
And was there a lot of, I guess, geochemical work, data, stuff that you could do, or was this just basically a big prospective land package with little work that was done?
No, there's been quite a good amount, a fair amount of historic exploration done on the Maggie Creek claims. So there's the Rainbow deposit just south. You've got this massive monster mine owned by Newmont. So historically, there's been 243 drill holes, and most of them at Maggie Creek have been shallow. When I say shallow, down to an average mean depth of about 300 feet. Really what's happened is, 15, 20 years ago, that was the primary method of exploration in Nevada. Companies, juniors, wildcatters come into a prospective project, couple shallow drill holes looking for at-surface oxide deposits, and then they move on. Now we're looking deeper, looking at a lot of geophysics, fault, and a lot of these big world-class deposits tend to be at depth. Just for example, at Keystone, we're drilling down to about 2,000 feet on all of our drill holes. So we could really get a big deposit at depth. Maggie Creek, we've been interpreting a lot of these former drill holes. We have the data, looking at that former geochemistry, geophysics, etc. We've contracted with some of the leading Nevada consultants out there to help us try and analyze the data and put out drill targets. And we're going to be talking a lot more about this in future press releases. So, sign up for our press releases and continue to watch in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, and at the Copper King, I guess, I only saw it briefly go by. I guess when you updated your PEA, it looked like the CapEx might have gone up significantly, maybe plus $30–40 million if I saw it correctly. What was that? What was going on with that?
Correct. You're absolutely right. Good observation. So one of our board members, Tim Janke, as I mentioned, he's a mine engineer. Tim did that internal update for us. And when you have this rising gold price from $1,275 in the original PEA up to $1,600 that we used, the increase of the gold price not only increased the NPV, but we looked at actually increasing the throughput. The assumption on the original PEA is about a 10,000 ton a day throughput. We made the assumption for 20,000 tons a day. So doubling the throughput, it would take it from a 17-year projected mine of life down to an 11-year life of mine. So you really tighten up the life of mine, but you bring a lot of that cash flow forward. It just makes it so much more economically attractive. Again, these are all very, very preliminary, just examples, and you can see all of these numbers not only on our website, but they're in the sensitivity tables of the PEA.
And to capture a silver credit, would that require an additional CapEx, or was that built into that update?
It won't be additional CapEx. We probably need to do some more infill drilling just to confirm, how much silver exactly is out there in the resource. We know in selective drill holes, we have economic grade silver, but we're probably in the pre-feasibility study. We're going to look at this very closely. Our consultants are very, very aware of it, and see if they recommend for us to do some more infill drilling, or if they can just calculate what some of the economics of that silver will be.
Okay, well, super. Thanks very much for answering the questions.
Thanks.
Thank you, Steve. Chesley, not to put you on the spot, but have we missed anything? Do you have any follow-up question? Chesley? I guess you're muted, Chesley. We'll come back to you. Scott, shall we go through the questions that came from our audience?
Yeah, I have a few. With Copper King, are you focused on bringing the mine into production or in exploration? And if you had a buyer for Copper King, say at 30% of NPV, would that be a good price?
Let's start with the last part of that question. So 30% of our NPV, if we use the $1,600 update, if I could be so bold, $321 million, that'd be about a $100 million offer. I'd remind everyone our current market cap is $14 million. So if I brought that offer to our board of directors, it would probably take them about 3 nanoseconds to hit that bid. We would certainly probably sell Copper King for $100 million. Now, I doubt that's going to happen. So do we want to put it into production? Absolutely. And if you look at, in the introduction, David Mandy kindly mentioned that I was a director of Pershing Gold. There we had the Relief Canyon deposit. And as we de-risk that deposit, getting it closer and closer to production, from PEA to pre-feasibility, full bankable feasibility, getting the potential financing to put it into production, then a bunch of suitors came up and ultimately America's Gold and Silver took it over. I would envision the same thing. A lot of the bigger companies, they want to see the junior de-risk these projects as much as possible. They want to see us spend our shareholder money before they come in and make an offer for it. However, if commodity prices, especially gold, continues to run and we get over $2,000 an ounce, $2,000 an ounce, the projected PEA of NPV of Copper King could be well north of $500 million. So it starts to get attractive, and we're just trying to push it forward to the best of our ability every day with our limited resources, and create the most shareholder value for it as we can.
Great, and this is kind of a follow-up question. How many years would it take, and what would the cost be to bring Copper King into production?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And again, with the situation we find ourselves in the world right now with the COVID-19 pandemic, it's challenging to make any accurate forward forecasts. A couple of years, certainly, to get through the pre-feasibility, bankable feasibility study, ultimately file the mine plan permit and get Copper King into production. Then we would have to raise the projected CapEx to build a facility. That would take, who knows, anywhere from 12 to 24 months, probably best case, to build the facility. Most likely, if it's just US Gold Corp, we will contract mine. So, multiple years down the road, I think is very reasonable before this is ever into production. How much will it cost? Well, the pre-feasibility, feasibility studies are pretty inexpensive compared to the ultimate CapEx to build that facility. And that's really what we're looking at right now in this pre-feasibility study. We're going to look at how much does this facility cost. We have to look at metallurgy. What sort of facility do we need? How big is it going to be? Where are we going to put it? What are the current input prices? So I'd say to everyone, watch closely. We're going to try and make this pre-feasibility study as robust as we can. I think it'll be a very, very good document when it's done, and we're hoping to have this done, if we can get out there, before the end of the year. So that pre-feasibility study is going to answer a lot of these questions, and just keep watching for that as it comes out.
Excellent. One last question, multiple questions also on Copper King, a lot of interest in Copper King. First part is, are you able to drill in Wyoming all year long? And the second part is, you mentioned meeting with Wyoming state officials in Zinke about permitting. Was there any friction, or how long do you anticipate the permitting process to take in Wyoming?
Yeah, so the first part of the question, can we drill all season long? Technically you could, although I would invite anyone who has not been out to Wyoming in February, when the winds are blowing at 60 miles an hour across the plains and it's minus 40 degrees. It's a little uncomfortable being out on a drill rig. Other times of year, right now, April, March, April, it can get very muddy. So Copper King, we access it off a county road, and you go in off a very unimproved dirt road. If that dirt road is too muddy, you can't get the drill rig in. You could literally get the drill rig stuck, and it might take a couple months to dry out. So we have only drilled in the past in the summer. June, July, August, September, October, even up to December are quite good months for us to drill. Second part of the question on the permitting and our meetings last summer with Secretary Zinke. So far, we have not encountered any friction whatsoever. In fact, just the opposite. I'd say the state of Wyoming has been very, very supportive. I'll point out to everyone as well, the state of Wyoming has a 5% NSR on Copper King. That's a 5% net smelter royalty. What it means is they get 5% of the revenues right off the top. So the state of Wyoming, and especially around the Cheyenne area, it's been pretty bombed out economically. A lot of coal mines, and if you've seen the price of coal, a lot of uranium mines, if you've seen the price of uranium, oil and gas, you've seen the price of oil recently. So Wyoming could really, really use those revenues. And that 5% NSR off Copper King, those revenues are specifically slated to go to the state K-12 educational school budget. The state's running, to my knowledge, about a $400 million budget deficit. So they'd love to get those revenues. They've been really supportive. I can't tell you, we go in and we see the regulators in Cheyenne, they actually pour us a cup of coffee. They say, gentlemen, welcome. When are you going to file that mine plan permit? And we say, hey guys, slow down. We're not ready yet. We need to see how big this thing can get. We need to get through the pre-fees. We need to do a lot more work. So it's been a wonderful jurisdiction and extremely supportive for the U.S. Gold Corp team and shareholders.
Well, I'm from Wyoming, and I can confirm on all accounts.
Hi, Scott.
I have one more that was chatted in just right now, and that is, can you elaborate on the option with Ren Gold?
Yeah, sure. So we talked about that a little bit before, but what we actually have is an option to earn into up to a 70% interest on the Maggie Creek claims. So our partner is Renaissance Gold. They're the underlying claim owners, and we will satisfy our option commitments by contractual work programs that we're working towards over the next several years.
Great, that's it for me.
Thank you, Scott. Very well presented today, Ed, and thanks for such great answers to your questions. Appreciate everyone's attendance today. I'm going to turn the call back to you, Ed, for closing remarks.
David, I really appreciate it. We appreciate your organization. I hope you and the O&M team in New York is safe and healthy, and I extend that to every single person on this webinar. Thanks so much for your interest. Your most valuable commodity is your time, and I appreciate you sharing an hour of it or so with us. Stay safe, stay healthy, watch this sector, not just U.S. Gold Corp, all the companies closely. I think we're really setting up for very, very exciting times in this sector. So go to our website, sign up for news releases from U.S. Gold Corp. If you want to reach out to me directly, the O&M team has my contact details. Feel free to email, call anytime. And we're certainly committed to work with O&M to come back to continue these town halls and update everyone in the future to the best of our ability. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. Edward Carr, President and CEO of U.S. Gold, and I want to appreciate everyone for your attendance. Again, thank you very much. Bye.